Starting a language can be overwhelming, especially when you self-study. What's worse is that every language has unique resources. What worked for one language might not work for another. Each language has unique dictionaries, unique textbooks, unique sources of input. In my studies, every language has a unique dictionary app. Even though some of these dictionaries claim to be multilingual, usually they're only good at one or two languages. Despite all this, there is some pattern for every language. Even though every language has different grammar, different vocab, I try to rely on this pattern that I have noticed. This pattern is not foolproof, and I want to be totally transparent about that. There are limitations. In a language like English or French, you don't need to learn about noun cases before you form a sentence. In German or Russian, you need to know this grammar point before you make a complex sentence. However, there are some constants I have noticed over about a dozen languages I've studied or dabbled in. I don't think it's controversial to say that we all have a lot of similar daily functions in every country. I've talked about words being untranslatable before, and so this is a problem you should be aware of when you're learning any language. However, some things tend to be similar in languages that have similar societies. There is a limit to even this. You can find languages that do not express things in this way that I'm talking about today. They do exist. I can say it's quite uncommon to find a language where everything I'm talking about today is completely irrelevant. With that limitation understood, I can tell you my strategy for learning any language. If you don't have any good direction in your language, this could be a really good starting point for you. Everything past this is really hard to generalize for all languages. As for this level I'm talking about today, it's almost universal, at least in my experience. I'm going to give examples in English, Turkish, and Japanese because they are very distant languages. With each of these examples, I'll include the grammar points that you need to know before this level in this particular language, just to be transparent that in this case, it's not 100% perfect. The first thing you should always learn about is stating basic verbs. This could be a present tense, a declarative form, or just the most basic way to use verbs in your language. In some languages, you'll need to memorize conjugations. In others, you'll need to learn how to mark the verb and the subject. Most grammar textbooks will name this lesson the present tense, but this can depend on how your language treats verbs versus the copula. At this stage, you might need to learn about articles, particles, noun cases. Don't complicate things too much right here. Focus on making a sentence like, I am a person. Ben bir kişiyim. 私は人です. You might want to talk about plans about the future. Some languages do not have a future tense. They might have an expression like I plan to, which replaces the future tense in many situations. Learn that here. Your goal here should be to make a sentence like I will eat. 이해잼食べます. It is possible that your future doesn't have a true future tense like Japanese. I would say English doesn't have a true future tense, but that's a story for another time. Not having a future tense is totally okay because this is one tense that a lot of languages never found the need to create. One tense that almost every language has is the past tense. This can be tricky because some languages have past tense based on completion, on evidence, or on the relation to other times. Try to find one that's about the basic facts of daily life. Your goal should be to say something like, I ate. 예짐, 食べました. Next, you want to learn how to say something that we call modal verbs in English. The name is not important. The important thing is that you talk about these things that are almost universal. Ability, necessity, or desire. First, ability. You want to learn how to say something like can. Sometimes this is one verb that does not change, like in English. In some languages, this is a verb ending that you mark a verb with, just like tense. However, what's almost universal is that you can combine this ability with tense. It's usually not either or. Try to learn to say something like I can go. Gidebilirim, ikemasu. Next, an important thing to say is necessity. In English, we have must, have to, need to. The important thing is that this is attached to verbs. Many languages have a difference between need for nouns and need for verbs. Focus on need for verbs. Try to say something like I must go. Gitmeliyim. Ikenakereba narimasen. Next, it is important to know how to say want. In English, this is not a modal verb, but it is a similar category for many others. Some languages use a full verb like English, others use verb endings. Don't get too focused on the details. Just focus on how to say want with verbs. Try to say something like I want to go. Gitmek istiyorum. İkitai desu. Now you want to be able to combine those three tenses with those three words for ability, necessity, and want. Depending on the language, you can already form 9 sentences, give or take. Now we can increase that multiplier even more by adding common verbs that almost every language has. I want to remind you guys that if you like this video, give it a like. If you want to see more content like this, you can subscribe to my channel to see more. But back to the language hacking. At this point, I would recommend memorizing verb phrases or trying to keep common phrases with the verb. This is just to avoid complicating things. If you add things like direction or objects, it can become too complicated. Your goal should be to get the basics and flesh out things later. You will need verbs like eat bread or eat rice, depending on the language, sleep, drink water, go or come home, give a present, receive or get a present, see a friend, read a book, write a book, learn or study, and your language name. Ekmek yemek, uyumak, su içmek, eve gitmek, gelmek, bir hediye vermek, bir hediye almak, bir arkadaşla görmek, bir kitap okumak, bir kitap yazmak, Türkçe öğrenmek. Gohan o taberu, neru, mizu o nomu, ie ni iku, kuru, present o ageru, present o morau, tomodachi o miru, hon o yomu, hon o kaku, nihongo o benkyou suru. These expressions are almost universal. It'll be hard to find a language that does not use these words naturally. Go and come might cause some problems in some languages because they add some complications like whether you're in a car or on foot, or whether you have one direction or many directions. Focus on the one way that you go home the most. If there's a difference between going by foot or going by car, choose whichever you use the most in your country now. We are trying to simplify things to get the most basic ideas down. You can add details later about walking on foot or going by car. Now, combining 3 tenses with 3 modes, plus the possibility of no mode, with 12 basic verbs means you can make up to 144 sentences in your target language. They add up so fast because language learning is exponential. Next, I recommend learning some relative time phrases. Your goal should be to answer the question when. We don't just talk about verbs, we add time to add more detail, and you will probably use one of these phrases in almost every one of your sentences. The ones that are most universal are today, yesterday, tomorrow, next week, last week, next month, last month, bugün, dün, yarın, gelecek hafta, geçen hafta, gelecek ay, geçen ay, 今日 昨日、明日、来週、先週、来月、先月. Also, learn the formula to talk about some number of days before now and some number of days after now. 5 days ago, in 5 days, 5 gün önce, 5 gün sonra, 5日の前、5日の後. Now you have 1 present tense time word, 4 past tense time expressions, and 4 future tense time expressions. 2 of those expressions can be replaced by any number. Assuming your language has all of the features I mentioned today, you can make about 576 sentences with 6 grammar points and 18 very simple vocab expressions. 2 of those vocab expressions are limitless because they can be replaced by any number. You can see how language learning can become infinite very quickly. If you use this method as I do for languages I begin, you can get a huge number of sentences very quickly while piquing your interest in the complicated grammar points that you skipped. I am not claiming you're going to be fluent after 6 grammar points and 18 vocab expressions, but you should be trying to output as fast as possible. In reality, you will probably never have to say, I will have to receive a present next month. This is just a good exercise to learn some very ubiquitous expressions as fast as possible so you can start making sentences your first week or second week. If you say in that abstract grammar space like I love to, you will never speak. Hopefully this method and basic structure can give you an idea of what you can do if you are totally lost in a new language. It's hard to find structure if you're studying alone, and you can get lost in all of the things that your target language does differently. You might focus on how your language has so many past tenses and you'll never get onto real topics. You need to know all this minutia, but a great place to start is what is functional. You can get complicated after you learn these basic expressions. Let me know what you think in the comments. What do you do for structure at the beginning of learning a language? Do you have any special strategies? You can follow me on social media if you want to see what I'm doing with my languages. I started my 30 days of Turkish output that I talked about in my 2022 goals video. I'll try to post some clips of that on my Twitter. I also post on Instagram every day. I have a website as well at studywithalex.com. You can find a lot of articles about language learning on there, which could be useful to you. So thank you for watching today. I'll see you in another video very soon, alright? Hej då!